Chris, and this is Regular Guy Training. So, this video was, well, like the snippets that you saw, was at an indoor range within a gun shop, right? A place called Bud's Gunshop and Range. And a lot of you guys may have heard of that because you may have one in your state. These people are friggin' everywhere. We were invited to go there not too far back. And it was one of those deals where when it happened, I was just kind of like, I don't know about this. Because most indoor ranges that you see, they're in normie land, okay? And while these guys have their own commercial range that operates within like their own little retail section where they have their rules and stuff like that, dealing with the guys that come out and shoot like a box of ammo, maybe a month or two, something like that. Dudes that come out and rent guns and that type of deal. While they have their retail side, which has its own rules to deal with that whole thing, what kind of shocked me was that they had their own training range. Like they referenced it as a tack range. Okay. But that in and of itself is kind of rare. The next thing that kind of shocked me about this place was that, you know, we started talking to JR. You know, and I met the GM beforehand, and then the guy that was just below him on the whole hierarchy was JR. And we started talking to him about curriculum and stuff because I'm used to a really squeamish environment as far as what they're going to allow people to do. And it was one of those deals where I'm like, shit, am I going to have to worry about, you know, students breaking the 180 with their head and that kind of stuff. With just their head, like the gun's down this way. Like, I've been yelled at local indoor ranges and stuff before for doing this, where the gun's that way and I'm looking this way, right? Because I'm breaking the 180. You know, I was worried, okay, am I going to have to shoot in booths with these people? Are they not going to allow movement, any of that? And I was, understandably so, I was very apprehensive to teaching a class out there, because if you hamstring it enough, it defeats the purpose. But, you know, I got to talking to JR about a lot of stuff that we do, and what shocked me was that the vast majority of everything that we had covered, he was just kind of like, I'm all for it, do it. You know, and the next thing that really shocked me is that, like, I've been to classes that were at indoor tactical ranges before, and I've had really crazy restrictions on I've seen and I've been to classes where there were really crazy restrictions on ammunition. Like, a friend of mine had to bail me out because I brought steel-cased pistol ammo to a class, and they wouldn't allow it, right? And I've been in other classes where, while the staff is sitting there trying to teach, there's like this self-governing entity that's with the range that's just walking around and really just fucking with shit, you know, to where every 5 seconds they're like, hey, that's unsafe, you need to change that. Like, on the fly, like they would mess with the curriculum that's being taught, right? And I've seen that kind of stuff before, and that's why it was one of the main reasons why I was very apprehensive. But none of that really came to pass at all, you know. Pretty much once we were started, they got the hell out of our way and they let us teach, which is great. You know, every once in a while there was like a little observation booth, and I'd see a few heads poking through there, and I'd see JRs and I'd see some other staff poking their heads through the thing, and that was it. It was probably just kind of be like, what are they doing? That looks kind of cool. And every once in a while JR would pop in when we were not shooting, like when students were reloading mags, and he would just ask, you know, how's the day going? You know, and it was one of those things where you get a little nervous at first, because at the very beginning I was just kind of like, well, let's go. And he's like, I don't want to hear that. I was like, oh crap, what's going to happen? Oh no. And he's just kind of like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear things are going great. You know, and he was just busting my balls. He had really dry humor, and I don't like know him personally very well. So sometimes, and you know how it is when you have that person with dry humor. I love dry humor. It's fun. But it's one of those things where sometimes it just fly right over your head. And especially if you don't know the person. So I essentially figured him out in over the course of time that we were at this class. But yeah, man, they were just very, very accommodating. They were very cool. And the main reason behind kind of making this video is just kind of like, you know what? They didn't have crazy restrictions on ammunition. Like, their restriction is no steel core, no tracers, done. Right? Okay, cool. Like, all right. You know, and there wasn't any self-regulating body trying to fuck with us the entire time, which is exceptionally rare, which I love. You know, it's very, it's almost off-putting. Like, you don't know how to act. It's like, I'm in an indoor range and they're just letting us do things. Cool. You know, so it's one of those things where I wanted to make this video mostly to be like, hey, thanks. You guys were the best. Like, it was a very accommodating crew. They wanted to help us with everything. They gave us a classroom to start everything with. They were you know, JR was constantly checking to see if we had everything that we needed or if everything was okay on our end, right? Like, what do you guys need? And it was one of those deals where over time you're just kind of like, we got it, man. Everything's going fine. And, you know, it was one of those deals where he was also a person that was just cool to shoot the shit with. So, you know, it was great. We actually had a pretty good time. And the other half of this video is to say, you know, I'm additionally a little amazed that they wanted us back. Not because, you know, we're not an entity that you don't want back. It's that they wanted us back, and I was like, what am I allowed to teach? And they said, whatever you want. And I said, what about a rifle class? And they were like, all right, cool. No steel core, no tracers, and you're good. What about steel cased ammo? You're fine. Okay, let's go back. You know, so what we're going to do there now is in January, we're going to go back for an indoor rifle 1, right? And what's kind of cool about this is that we want to use the environment to our advantage, because a lot of times, you know, dudes come out and they want to take carbine stuff as far as just like a class or whatever, but it's almost always outside, right? Primarily because of like ammo restriction issues and stuff like that, but it's almost always outside. And there's a lot of things that happen inside that are particularly different with like rifles and stuff like that. So we're tailoring our curriculum for inside, and that's where we're calling it Indoor Rifle 1, and that's pretty much what it's geared toward. It's geared towards shooting a rifle inside and also home defense things as far as just how the class is going to be structured. It's going to be very, very centered around home defense type stuff. And the cool thing there is that there is all kinds of shit that we can use for their tactical range that accommodates that. There's like a bajillion barrels that we can use to set up hallways and to set up like little mock rooms for different drills that we want to do. All kinds of really cool shit, actually. So that's great. And another really good thing, too, is that anyone who's taken our rifle and pistol curriculum, like the first day of 1 and 2, we do night stuff. And the cool thing about this is that we usually have to wait for the lights to go out. Like, the sun has to set for us to do that. And now we can just turn lights off on a whim. So with this indoor rifle class, it's one of those things where we can do that a whole lot more to kind of drive that point a little bit further forward to where, okay, cool, now we're doing more indoor-centric stuff, we're doing more home defense-centric stuff, and now we can get more time with flashlights, which a lot of times people have to beg, borrow, and steal time for, you know. So that's where we're going to be, and that's how it's going to go. And hopefully, I want to go ahead and set it up to where they want us back more, you know, because a lot of times we'll take classes outside, and our classes that are taken outside, that's great. There are pros and cons certainly to both, but being able to do stuff inside really opens the eyes to a lot of people at exactly how loud this crap can get, even with really like dual layered ear protection on and shit like that, which I recommend for this one. This one coming up, the rifle class, for sure. So, you know, I would say, in all honesty, check them out. I've seen the shop. If something goes down and you need ammo or magazines and shit like that, another really good thing about where we're at is that you can just go and buy that magazine that blew up on you, or that ammo that you left at the house, or whatever the shit. You know, it's right there. It's easily accessed, that kind of thing. So, also, it's not in the middle of friggin' nowhere. So, you can just go get lunch and stuff like that. So, that's great, you know. So, yeah, I would say check them out. We're going back there, like I said, in January. And this is the Bud's Gunshop Range in Lexington, Kentucky. So, you know, thanks to the guys at Bud's for being cool as shit with us. And we hope to see more of you guys soon. So, remember, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.